Hello everyone, Eric and Renren with OzoneTCG. Today we're taking a look at the Magnificent Mavens full set list. The only thing we're missing are the new Pharaoh's rare from the set, but we do know every single reprint and import in this set so far. Numbers 1 to 103 in the set will either be reprints, and a lot of them are fantastic, or new cards altogether, such as some of the manga and Ishizu cards. We're going to go over all the new cards, which you guys should be expecting to pick up, and then talk about some of the Ishizu and meta impacts, as well as a bunch of the reprints in here. It's a good sealed product. Honestly, this is probably the best sealed reprint set we've ever had, I would say, in the entirety of the game's history. And I don't think it even comes close. This is a really, really good set. So starting off, we have the new Striker stuff. Surgical Striker Hamp. I don't like the name. You guys can see it on screen. It's always treated as a Sky Striker card. If you control a Sky Striker Ace monster, you can special summon it from the hand by attributing a monster from either side of the field. You can only special summon once per turn that way. It's just sort of battle, target a card the opponent controls, destroy it. It's just a kaiju for Sky Strikers. But it's kind of cool that we're getting this too. So OCG received this, I want to say, a year or two ago as their own product, and they got the same sleeves that we did, but it was kind of a... It also had little acrylic stand characters with it, and it was a whole thing. I think it came out like last year or something like that. Just a cool thing.
Shiny box or something.
Yeah, they had their own specialty product for it, but it was more... Each of the boxes was catered to that theme. So one of them was like Sky Striker theme, one of them was Mayakashi, and then one of them was Witchcrafter. But just cool that we get to see this. Next one is Aileron. Aileron, treated as a Sky Striker card.
It's not very good, but
No.
like it's there if you want it. The big one is definitely linkage. Like
Yeah.
it gives the deck so much extra consistency, gives you a lot of pushing power. You can actually like do a lot of surprise OTKs out of nowhere, and it kind of works like droplets, so you can get a lot of value with your regular Sky Striker spells and then just send them for effect with linkage.
Yeah,
Just like
so
a
it has a lot of really cute applications, and basically every single Striker card is being reprinted. So you guys can see here, right? So all the aces except for, looks like, I don't think, what's her face is in here.
Rose, I think.
Yeah,
Rose.
I don't think Rose is in here, which is fine because she's already just a cheap card anyway. But Rei, Kagari, Shizuku, Hayate. Oh, it looks like Kaina is not in here as well. That's fine too. Kaina's not good. You know, I don't even think you need to play her anymore. But we have Engage, Widowmaker, Shark Cannon, Multi-Roll. It looks like Afterburners and some of the other commons and lower rarity hollows are not reprinted, but the main cards you need for Striker are in here. The cards that haven't been reprinted are already cheap, don't really need a reprint at all. I know Shizuku is actually climbing in value a little bit over here in the TCG because it hadn't had a reprint in such a long time. Last reprint we had of it was, I think, 2019 Megatins.
Yeah, it was like the prismatic one.
Yeah, Prismatic Secret. So it's been a while. It's been 3 years. But finally, and again, I would expect this from a Sky Striker Simp product, that all of the better Striker cards are reprinted here. It's nice that they're Ultra. For those of you who don't know, Ultra is actually my favorite rarity, and I'm really glad to see that all the power cards in Striker, as well as Linkage, are available in Ultra. Same with some of the other reprints, we'll talk about those. But Linkage, if you control no monsters in your main monster zone, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn. After it resolves, Sky Striker Ace monsters, so just your Sky Striker Link monsters. Also send one other card you control to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Sky Striker Ace monster from your extra deck to the extra monster zone, and if you have at least one light and one dark Sky Striker Ace monster on your field and or in your graveyard, this one monster gains 1,000 attack. Basically, it's just a free Kagari, Shizuku, Hayate, Zeke, anything like that. Makes it easy to summon those guys. And again, like you said, it works like Droplet, so if you activate, say, Widow Anchor, Chain Linkage, you can send your Widow Anchor while it's still in the field for effect to get your monster for free. So you're going to be using this in combination with your quick plays and normal spells. Really good card. I would expect this card, honestly, to be one of the money cards in the set. There are quite a few that could, and that's not just including the Ishizu cards, but I think this is probably going to be like $15, maybe up to $20, but I don't think anything is going to be really expensive. besides the Pharaoh rares. I don't think any of the ultra rares in these set are going to be expensive at all. I've said this, to friends and everything, that I think it's going to be more of a Ghosts 2 situation, or Ghosts from the Past and Ghosts 2, where there are only a couple of cards that retain a lot of value, and most of the cards in here, because I think this is a valuable product and will be open quite a bit, we really won't see prices accelerate too much for most of the cards in here. Linkage is one of the cards I think that will probably be short printed with the Ishizu cards, and probably will demand a higher price tag relative to everything else, but still like pretty cheap for building a Sky Striker deck. I don't know how many cards you play, or how many copies you play of Linkage. I would assume 3. It just seems really good. It just feels like
you can go anywhere between 2 to 3 pretty much.
Yeah, it seems like it's just really good for the deck. And also giving them the extra 1,000 does matter. This solves their problem of being kind of small, even with the buffs or debuffs, with the attack stat, either Kagari or Shizuku, and being able to clear monsters both by battle and by Zeke effects. So, fantastic card. I may end up picking up Striker again. I haven't owned that deck for 3.5 years. May end up picking it just because it's a fan favorite at this point. It's basically like a modern day Burning Abyss, which Burning Abyss is one of my favorite decks ever. Alrighty, so for some of the Mayakashis, this one's really good. If it's special summon, you can target an effect monster. Your opponent controls negates effects. As a quick effect, you can banish it from the graveyard. Special summon one of your zombie synchros that is banished or in your graveyard. You can only use each effect once per turn. You can only control one. Yugioh, the Icicle Mayakashi. Really good card. The fact that it's any zombie synchro and it doesn't have to be just Mayakashis is really good. In Mayakashi, you're only going to be able to summon the Mayakashi from the extra deck. But if you're playing against something like Dogmatica, where they're sending cards from the extra deck to the graveyard, this will still work. It doesn't need to be properly summoned, and it's a quick effect. Really cool that it's one of the only quick effect monster effects that activates in the graveyard. We really don't see those too often. Usually that's reserved for normal traps, generally speaking. But some of the Ishizu cards follow that pattern too, so I guess good time to see those. Good card, and it builds it to the Link 4, which is also a very good card. I think this is one of the really good cards too, and I'm not sure. I don't know Mayakashi too well. They look cool though. You know,
the trap's pretty good. It's basically like one of their new win conditions. It's a very powerful lockout effect, and it also gives you recovery.
Oh yeah. You can only use one effect once per turn, and only once that turn. So the Maiden with Eyes of Blue Claws, but that's actually not too bad. The fact that you can just use this on their turn, next turn, recover like your Mizuki if they play that card, not bad. I like how they're incorporating the Mayakashi and Shiranui cards together. That's the whole idea, is that they're two different storylines going on at the same time, and they're intertwined. It's like Shaman King and whatever else. But cool. I'm not a huge fan of Mayakashi, but they're cool at the very least. Witchcrafter, Vice Madam, really good card. One Witchcrafter monster, spellcaster monster. When a spell card or effect or a non-fusion spellcaster monster effect is activated as a quick effect, activate one of the effects. Has 3 effects, and you can only use each of those 3 effects once per turn. Destroy a card in the field, so Zodiac Trident, basically. Special summon a level 6 or lower Witchcrafter from your hand or deck. I think Haina is level 6. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Haina's 7, I believe.
Oh, she's 7. So you can. Doesn't one of them special summon from the deck, like as a quick effect, or is that?
I think so.
And then the other one is that.
Yeah, it's Pottery. Yeah, Pottery lets you get into Madame Ver or Haina.
Okay, yeah. So, kind of a way to get to them without doing too much. You do have to, I think, discard a spell or something. Again, I'm not too well versed with Witchcrafter, but the other effect is add a Witchcrafter spell or trap from your graveyard, so some nice recursion. Even though they can recur themselves, they're only going to do it during your end phase. Good fusion support. Kind of weird that they're fusion focused, but they do have the fusion spell Confusion Confession. Fusion summoner a fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field as material, including a Witchcrafter monster. During your end phase, you control a Witchcrafter monster. What's in your graveyard? Add it to your hand. standard clause. It's fine. It's searchable at least because it is a named Witchcrafter spell, but I don't think it really pushes them anywhere near to really meta status, unfortunately. But it is a good support card.
It won't be like a meta break or anything, but Vice Madam is actually very playable and it makes the deck a lot better. And with the release of Blazing Cartesia, there's actually quite a few easy ways to get to Vice Madam without even seeing the spell. So that's pretty good.
That's cool. Yeah, maybe we'll have to explore that sometime too. And then we have Exchange of Despair and Hope. Fantastic name. We're not going to go into the Ishizu stuff besides these quite yet, but if you control 3 or more Earth Fairy monsters, so this is part of the Ishizu, I guess this is what, Season 2 Battle City, where it's, I think, Ishizu versus Kaiba, and Kaiba's about to lose, or he thinks he wins, he's about to win if he attacks, but Ishizu planted some trap or something, and then she's like, oh, I've seen the vision where you attack and then you lose the game, and Kaiba has a like counter vision that says if you attack you lose the game. It's stupid anime nonsense. This goes with it. So this, if you control the 3 Earth Fairies, that's in reference to the Ishizu cards. Send as many monsters from the field to the graveyard as possible, minimum 1 each. Then each player can special summon monsters from their opponent's graveyard to their own field, up to the number of monsters sent to their opponent's graveyard by this effect. And then if it's special summoned by this effect, an exchange of the spirit is in your graveyard, you can set a trap directly from your deck, and it can be activated this turn. That is a mouthful. Basically, you swap some creatures from your graveyard, from your opponent's graveyard, put them in your field, and from your graveyard to your opponent's field, and then you can set, the idea is to set Exchange of Spirit, or set the new, the Gravekeeper's Trap, that's its name. That's the idea, but it's really janky. It's just cool.
Yeah, it's not really very good.
No, I just thought I'd
mention it. The main ones are
it.
definitely the 4 monsters, like Keldo, Medora, Kelbeck, and Nagito. Like, those are going to be beyond insane.
Yeah, we're gonna go over those.
Like, just, it's like 2 of them have a quick effect to, like, from the graveyard, you can banish them, and then target any of its 3 cards in any grave, or 5 if Exchange of Spirit is on the field or in the grave. You can shuffle them into the deck. And while the other 2, when they're sent from hand or deck to the grave, like by anything, even by cost or effect.
Card effect cost anything. Yep.
Both players get to mill the top cards of their deck to the grave, which is insane.
Yeah, we'll talk about those in just a second. You guys will see on the screen Kelbeck, the Ancient Vanguard. We'll talk about those. Only card I want to talk about before the other Ishizu cards are Blast Held by Destiny. This is referencing Blast Held by Attribute, another trap card that went along with that whole, that I think it was 1 or 2 episodes in the anime, and then I think probably half a chapter or so in the manga. When an opponent's monster declares an attack, destroy the 1 monster your opponent controls with the highest attack. And if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its original attack. Then if Exchange of the Spirit is not in your graveyard, you take damage equal to the damage they took if it's sent from the hand or deck to the graveyard. So this is the Ishizu Fairy kind of rule here. You can target a level 4 Earth Fairy monster in your graveyard, add to your hand. Theoretically, you could play this with like Foolish Fairy Goods, but it's not good, unfortunately, because it requires you to already have your Ishizu cards in the graveyard, and it's a trap, so you'd have to.
Yeah, it's kind of win more.
Yeah, it's not very good for those who want to take a look at it later. But we have the actual Ishizu cards, the Earth Fairies. These are projected, and I think justifiably so, that are going to make Tearlament objectively and solidify them as the number 1 deck. There's a good chance it's Tier-0 in the TCG. It was in the OCG for like a couple months. We can probably see a very similar trend here as well. So on screen, you guys will see some of the different ones. We're gonna go over the 2 shuffles and then the 2 interactions. So first, Keldo, discard. So these 2. So Keldo and Medora. So all of these are retrains of old normal monsters that haven't done anything in the game previously, but they've been retrained as really powerful effect monsters. That's the gist of it. Keldo and Medora have the same second effect. Kelbeck and Yugioh have the same second effect as well. Keldo and Medora have, you can as a quick effect, you can banish it from the graveyard, target up to 3 cards in any graveyards, or up to 5 if you have Exchange of the Spirit on your field or in your graveyard. Shuffle them into the deck. You can only use that effect once per turn. You can only use both the effects once per turn. Kelbeck and Yugioh are, if it's sent from the hand or, like you said, deck to the graveyard, each player sends the top 5 cards of the deck to the graveyard. Then if Exchange is the Spirit is in your graveyard, you can set a trap from your graveyard. That's Kelbeck's effect. Yugioh is you can mill another 5 from either player can mill 5, and you choose which one. But they all have really good first effects. So the mill effects and shuffle effects were the primary reason to play these in Tier Limit. However, the first effects actually what makes them all come together, and a lot of inexperienced players are going to just try and mill as much as possible to reduce the number of cards in their opponent's deck. That's fine for what it is, but that's not the idea. It doesn't. You don't utilize the ceiling that you have for the deck just by using the mill effects. It's all in having your discards, your discard effects, or interruption effects, which are the first effects of each card. So Keldo, discard one other Earth Fairy monster, special summon it from your hand, then add an Exchange of Spirit or one card that mentions it. So all of the Ishizu Fairy monsters mention Exchange of the Spirit, and Gravekeeper's Trap mentions Exchange of the Spirit. So you can search all of these cards. You can also search the manga and anime cards together, but you generally won't. But this card searches all of the other ones. I don't know if this was the one that was limited. I know there are, I think, 2 of them that are limited in OCG right now. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't remember which ones are limited offhand, but
I don't quite remember which ones, but they basically limited 1 miller and 1 shuffler, which I don't think was correct, but that's what they went with.
That's it's an OCG mystery, but basically, you want to be using these discard effects to send some of the millers, as your cost, and you can also use these with the Herald of the Orange Light, because you play like Diviner together with this search. You can either search rituals or just use it as like a level 6 monster, and then mill, make Baron de Fleur from that. There are a bunch of combo paths. You can also make like Beatrice to mill even more. It's a lot to take in. Once you see the Ishizu Tier Limit deck in play, which will feature this a lot because it'll, again, probably be one of the only playable decks in the coming format. You guys will see how much utility each card has and how many layers of interaction there are per turn, especially in the mirror. Just playing against this deck is already a lot. Yeah, and it's a whole thing with time we're going to have to go into as well.
So,
that's for another video.
They basically do so much, like, even though it doesn't look like it, they have so many interactions. Like, for example, the Shufflers, Medora and Keldo basically let you use Perloreno on demand. So even like if you get hit with Mystic Mine, you can just chain it, shuffle back its element, and then on res
trigger Perloreno
off the mine.
Yep.
Yes,
so that's
a little much.
One of the other ways, and people, TCG players are kind of starting to experiment with Tier Limit's Heartbeat, which is their in-theme way, and it's searchable to out Mystic Mine, but you don't necessarily need to play that. People probably still will, just because Mystic Mine is a threat in the game. But the fact that there's another option as well that can be used in the graveyard, you have Heartbeats in hand or on the field, anything like that, really makes it harder for Mystic Mine to be as impactful as it probably could have been. OCG did not have Mystic Mine legal when these cards were released, because Mystic Mine has been banned for over a year in OCG. They didn't have to deal with the two together, so it's going to be a very different format, I think, than OCG.
There's also like streams in Darkening Blast, since that gives you more mills, that basically gives you better odds to hit an Ishizu, and then you can just snowball from there for free. It's crazy.
And again, a lot of people are going to play greedy with that effect, but the deck is more than that, and it's going to be hard to see what I mean until you guys actually see it in play, if you guys haven't seen it already. The Ishizu cards, both of the effects on all four of the monsters at the very least, are really good. I would say Medora is probably the worst one, even though it does play Gravekeeper's Trap, but I think it's the worst one out of like S+ tier cards, because just all together they all function really well. You play like max of every single tier limit, like good tier limit card, all max of all of these three, one of the Gravekeeper's Traps, and it just works really well together. There's also the Naturia version, which is fun too. We might feature that as a deck profile later on, but yeah, just there's a lot of interactions going on. It's going to be a really complicated format and not really beginner friendly, but those who have been competing for a while, consistently going to events, I think will have a better time than those just coming in. Really is not a good time for new players to come in, unfortunately. That kind of brings me to one of my other points just before we continue through the Ishizu cards. This set is really good for returning competitive players, and I think that's kind of the target audience. Lure them in with more weeb bait, Mayakashi, Witchcrafter, and Sky Striker sleeves, which previously were not available in TCG. Again, the Sky Striker ones look really good, and I think those will be really popular moving forward. But the idea is to get previously expensive decks. Sky Striker was several $100s at one point. Sword Soul was several $100s last year. And then the Ishizu cards and a bunch of really nice reprints. It's really good for those who have played competitively before, but I don't think it's very good for those who are just trying to play the game or just starting out to play the game, which I think is fine because we really don't have that many reprint sets that are good for returning competitive players. It's kind of a different angle before. I think the 2022 tins kind of started that.
So speaking of Sword Soul, how about we talk about it?
Yeah, so you guys will see on screen Kelbeck and Ajido. I'm not going to put up the Sword Soul cards because you guys should know what those do. It's really nice that they have all of the Sword Soul cards in here, including Qixing. Yeah, so you can build swords. I have almost max rarity Sword Soul. I love the deck, and I will say that every time I mention Sword Soul. This is really nice. I'm impressed that they're already reprinting Qixing Longyuan. They've reprinted quite a few interesting cards. We'll talk about those as we go through the rest of the list. Interesting that Ira Sword Soul's in here. Kind of expected, I guess. But every single Sword Soul card is in here as an ultra rare. We finally have our Hollow Blackout. We finally have an upgraded rarity for Taya. Downgraded rarity for Qishao and Qixing Longyuan. Same rarities for Longyuan and Emergence. Sacred Summon gets a slight bump as well. But I love the Sword Soul cards. I'm going to try and get all of them. And of course it matches the 10E reprints because they were all in Ultra.
Oh yeah, and Ecclesia gets their second reprint as an third.
Second reprint for the year within 2 months, which is kind of crazy. That's pretty unusual. I think the last time that really happened was 2019 when Sky Striker, funny enough, was getting reprinted for the first time in the 2019 Megatins. Engage had just gotten a reprint, and I think Widow Anchor had just gotten a reprint. And then they reprinted them again in the tins like a month and a half later. So they were reprinted in one of the Battles of Legends sets, reprinted afterwards in the tins. Good to see, though, because the tins, of course, missed all the Sword Soul cards minus Ecclesia. So Ecclesia was in there as a Prismatic Secret Rare. Now we get her as an Ultra. Again, I will pick them all up because Ultra's my favorite rarity. Matches everything else. It'll look nice. It looks fantastic.
I might also pick up Sword Soul as well for the first time.
Yeah. So I wish they were more playable here. Again, because I love the deck, but it's a good thing we don't have Protos. I don't have to deal with that card. It would make Tier Limit really hard to play. Though it's still a good deck, nevertheless. But it would make Sword Soul a competitive threat because Protos is an insane card and shouldn't have been printed. But yeah. Alrighty, on to some of the other reprints. So this was a really cool thing they did too. They mixed up half and half with Ultra and Pharaoh's rares. So we know that Scapegoat is a Pharaoh rare, and the true name is a Pharaoh's rare as well. I think there are some other like Goat format. Gold Sarcophagus is a Pharaoh's rare. I don't think Gold Sark is in Goat, but there are some old school Yu-Gi-Oh cards. Yadagarasu, BLS Envoy of the Beginning. Not really Doomdozer or Mizuki. Chaos Hunter is a good reprint, but some of these GOAT format reprints that haven't been reprinted in a while, and some command higher prices. Good to see that here. I'm really glad to see that.
Doomdozer is fan favorite.
Yeah, so this is good for B Trooper, for all 2 B Trooper players left, you guys know who you are. Butunifo Princess, the Shark cards, and the Rinces cards from Legendary Duelists, and Goaty, of course, yeah. So, good reprint for those. DD Savant Kepler. Yeah, this is big. Savant Kepler has never had a hollow reprint before. This is his first hollow printing, in the 7 years. Wow, 7 years it's been out. Came out in Dimension of Chaos in 2015 in the TCG, and has not had a holo print since. Finally gets one, so I think DDD's all holo now. I don't know.
And while DDD won't be like super like competitive in the upcoming format, it's still like a fun option to play like your local area. It's not too bad.
I completely agree. Yeah, absolutely. It's nice that it's finally close to or completely holo. I don't know which, but good. It deserves it. It should have been reprinted as a holo earlier, honestly. Shiranui Solitaire, good for Mayakashi. I don't think they actually play this card. I'm not sure, but it's a welcome reprint. I think this is its second or third Ultra reprint, because I know it started off as an Ultra, reprinted as an Ultra, and I think has been a common, but I'm not positive, or reprinted again as an Ultra. I don't know.
I have a bunch of like flying one-off reprints too, like Baru, Abyss, the Galaxy Eyes, Liliona.
Yeah.
Like
Baru was like $10 as a rare because it had never been reprinted from Ignition Assault. Yeah. Good to see it's in there. All 4 Ignister players as well get a chance to build the deck for a little bit cheaper. Afterglow is a good reprint because it was a promo card earlier this year. Liliona, I think this is that's the level 4. Okay, Ecclesia.
I think that was
And then the Therion cards. So the ones that were not holo, except for Reaper, Foom.
Oh yeah, Foom isn't in.
Yeah, that's the only one that's not in here. That was a common a common in Dimension Force. Interesting to see that they're in here though. I don't know the reason, but I like the Therion cards. Glad to see him in here. This is for
Nether
zombies.
still gets another Ultra.
Yeah.
I think it's like 5 Ultras now.
Something like that.
Crazy.
Entis is really good. It's only been
great.
Super and Gold Rare. Maximum Gold Rare.
Commanding bad price.
Yeah.
So it's good for like Ultimate Slayer, Magmatica Punishment. The Deer Servant recently got up the tree, so that's good for those strategies.
This is also, again, for Dogmatica because they get White Zoa of Dogmatica in Photon Hypernova, which is their level 12 boss monster. Really good card. Really annoying to play against, but we'll feature that sometime too. Millennium's Eyes Restrict. It's going to kick the price down for the original Ultras and the secret reprints quite a bit. It was at one point, right before Nats, like $40 because Despia was projected to be a pretty good counter for the Dragon Link meta in the Nats format from July. So good to see there. Predaplant.
I'm sure he bumped for Predaplant.
Another Dimension Force card, though, which is, again, kind of weird. This deserves it, though. This probably should have been a secret in this set, honestly, in Dimension Force. Would have been better than a couple of the secrets in there. Good to see that it's an Ultra, too. Cat Shark needed a reprint. It's only been in the gross old premium.
We have some like sprite stuff like Cat Shark, a nice reprint for only Bimaru, and finally an Ultra reprint for Toad. So like Toad isn't as run as much anymore since people moved on to the Runic variant, but like some Evil Twin variants and some Pures with Dark Beckoning Beast still make use of Toad, so it's all good.
Yeah. And
nice.
some
So
sprite players or tier limit players can still play. Totally awesome too with Tomb Early. So good to see them.
I'm kind of glad that Toad actually didn't eat it, unlike in the OCG. So some decks can still make use of it, like Princess, Tier, and some sprites. So that's pretty nice.
Yep, good to see them. And then Nightmare Cerberus and Phoenix have their Ultra reprints. So they were reprinted as Ultras in the 2019 tins, and they're getting another Ultra reprint here. Good, good way to introduce players to
making them more accessible, especially since Runic makes great use of them right now.
Yep, I agree. Boral Sword, we finally get a good holo reprint. I want to say the last reprint we've had of this was the gold version with the gross alternate art. That's one that I've been using before Access Code. Just kind of funny. And then BLS Soldier of Chaos finally gets a real reprint. I think it was just reprinted in Ghost.
Yeah, it was like a Ghost, and then
in Ghost. Ghost or Ghost 2, I don't remember which one, which is kind of a troll.
Yeah, I think it was Ghost 1, and then like we'll see. So yeah, it's not super great right now, but like people who want to play can actually play it now without having to shell out. That's good.
And Traptrix, we knew about Sarah a couple months ago when they first teased Mavens. Good to see that it's in here because Traptrix just got some insane support in the structure deck, and eventually we'll feature that once we're getting closer to the structure deck release in the TCG. Apalooza, this is the alternate art where she's in the river or lake or whatever with just the bow and no bear. Really good reprint. I'm going to definitely pick up this. I have the original Ultra reprint with the standard art on it. But I think this art looks way better, and I'm glad that it's finally getting a better treatment rather than its gross gold. So this is what I was talking about with some of the other cards. Some of the goat cards, Harpy's Feather Duster and Scapegoat, they're being reprinted as Ultra. I think Scapegoat is also a Pharaoh's Rare, like I mentioned, but I don't know if it's been listed on here, or maybe not. I'm not sure.
Not yet.
Yeah,
so I believe that's the first reprint of Change of Heart ever since it got unbanned, and it's like a nice power one up. It's basically a better mind control, so you know, pick it up for cheap.
Yeah, it's going to be extremely cheap. Again, I think not a lot of people are scrambling for this card, but they'll scramble for anything else. They'll eventually get their reprint of Change of Heart, just from opening packs and everything, so it'll be cheap. Legendary Ocean gets its first hollow print ever.
I think it also has updated text, and yeah, it's finally foiled out for those Umi fans.
Yeah, and then speaking of which,
Umi's always a fun casual deck, so you know.
Yeah, instant fusion, so you can summon your rare fish with this card and instant ready fusion. There it is. Yeah. But this had a reprint before in the Raw Yellow Mega Pack as an ultra rare, but it has not had a hollow reprint in like 5 years in Fusion Enforcer. So another
that's almost
great
like
card.
Enforcer.
Yeah, it's old as it's due for a reprint basically. I'm glad to see that it's an ultra here too. For tier limit, I'm going to pick up one because I only have gross Cyberdark Impact first edition commons. Yeah, A Hero Lives, good reprint as well. I think this card's at 3. I went to 3 I think in May of this year. So good to see their Dark Calling for those hero simps that are playing that version. Secret Village, fine reprint.
Bullish Return is.
This is the trap.
It's cute.
No, okay, that's the other one. Oh, this has the Lost Art too.
Yeah, it was used like a while back in the Despy format to counter branded under branded loss, so you can throw it or so you can bill it. I think it's alright.
And then Pendulum Call gets its highest print ever. It's only previously been either a common or super. Its original highest rarity print was, I think, an OTS super rare.
It was it super in Pevo? I don't.
Yeah, in Pendulum Evolution was also super rare, which kicked the original super print of it a little bit down in price. Magician's Restage. Oh, that's this card. Okay, this card's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty nice in combination with Souls. So yeah, it's a nice follow up.
And then
so
Rev
another
System.
Rev System. Changeover is the big one. Like from originally Super, now it has a nice little Ultra printing. Yeah. And Dragon Maid might actually show up as a nice option coming into Darkwing Blast alongside the Bestial and the branded cards. So I might actually pick that deck up.
Yeah, we're gonna feature a Dragon Maid Bestial deck list in the next couple days. It's cute. I like playing it just because it's like a really easy to play mid-range deck. It doesn't require too much thought or interaction. You just play what you have and search a bunch with the Bestial cards.
And Shio is a powerhouse for that deck.
The fact that it's 3,500 as well beats over a lot of 3K attack monsters, which is nice. Which again, kind of relevant for the deck. You can just play a bunch of dragons and just beat your opponent down. Kind of feels like an old school deck, honestly. You have
it feels hyper aggressive
in engine out to Mystic Mine.
Yeah, with Branded Beast, and then like Branded Banishment can actually bring back Shale if they out it somehow. So that's quite nice.
Yep, and then some of the insane reprints. So we didn't know any of the real reprints besides like Sword Soul, and some of the featured cards, Mayakashi, Witchcrafter, Sky Striker. We knew those were going to be in here. They just revealed earlier today. A bunch of people were opening packs for videos and showed some of the insane reprints. Lightning Storm, Triple Tactics Talents, Draco Back, Anti-Spell Fragrance, Skill Drain, Non-Fusion Area, Light Imprisoning Mirror, Shadow Imprisoning Mirror, Goes a Match Evenly, Infinite Impermanence, and Ice Dragon's Prison are all reprinted in this set. This is huge value. This is what really the set was already going to be good just by the Ishizu cards. The Sword Soul card reprints were added more value to it. And for those who like the 3 featured themes, was also going to be good. So just at that, Mavens was already going to be like a good product. The fact that they added more competitive staples really pushes it over the edge. I think, and this is what makes me think that it's probably the best reprint set ever. Even if they're still expensive, which I'm sure they will, even though that people are going to be going after these Shizu cards, and now they're still going to be cheap compared to previous prints here. I could see Lightning Storm being under $20 per copy, never before seen.
I can see like 15.
Yeah, like 15 Tactics is going to be cheap. It's going to be like $5 or $10 in here because it was already cheap from the reprints last year. Draco back, we finally have a holo print for Draco back, which is fantastic. Probably one of the reasons why, I shouldn't say the reasons why Adventures hit. I'm sure this was made after the ban list, this decision, maybe. But good to see that it's in here too. Anti-Spell Fragrance, always a welcome reprint, even though the card is absolute toxicity at its finest. I hate this card, but I'm glad to see that it's in here.
Speaking of toxicity, we have another Skill Drain reprint, might actually be affordable.
Yeah, so the last reprint was earlier this year in Hidden Arsenal Chapter 1 as a DT Ultra. It was still like $30 for, and it still is to even at time of recording. So now maybe we'll see it go down just a little bit.
Yeah, because like that set wasn't really good. Skill Drain is seeing some play right now in tier elements as a side deck option, especially like if you get shifted, you can just punish them with Skill Drain. It's very toxic.
Yeah, it's good if you're playing against like Fluon and you happen to draw it while you're under Shifter. That's one of the best case scenarios. Or Sprite. It's really hard for them to play and they have to draw the out. Now we have the Runic card, so it's a little bit less impactful versus Sprite, but Fluon very good option. Fluon has a really hard time outing it unless they have Unknown Winds and like map and a level 7 in hand, which is asking for like 3 or 4 cards. It's a lot, basically, to ask for. Good card as a reprint. Again, hopefully it'll finally be cheap. I think
area gets its first holo printing. It's cool. It's cute.
I think it's fine. It's cool that it's there because it's a very old card. I like seeing old cards reprinted with new card text as holos. It just
same with Light Imprisoning and Shadow Imprisoning. Those might actually be.
They'll be interesting for this format. Last time they were played was during Duelist Alliance, so 2014 through 2015. We saw Shadow Imprisoning Mirror sided against Burning Abyss and Shaddoll, particularly those decks that didn't really want to have to play or grind versus Burning Abyss. So Nekroz would often side Shadow Imprisoning Mirror for going first if their opponent forced him to go first, because going second in Nekroz was generally more favorable. But good to see that they're in here because they're not expensive. They just have old card text and it doesn't really make sense, but it's clarified now.
Goes and Match is the big one.
Goes and Match and Evenly because they tell the Six Samurai storyline. Yeah. So it's just cool. Goes and Match finally has a really good ultra rare reprint. I don't think it's had a holo print at all. I'm not sure actually.
It has like a super in Hidden Summoners a while back, and that one's really expensive. So this should
4 years old.
Command the price down.
Yeah, and then Evenly Match has seen a huge spike in play again for a bunch of back row decks, Mystic Mine, Sprite, everything, Tier
It's
Limit,
really good.
Everything.
Yep. Runic Sprite's actually good maining it or siding it. It's also very good against other Runic Sprites, and it's good against Tier Limits. So
it went up to about $30 over the weekend, and since we've had this revealed today, I don't think the price has been affected, but they will be affected once this is released the beginning of November 4th, November 5th, over in the TCG.
Yeah, I think Evenly might actually get a cheap hopefully.
Yeah, I think it'll finally be under $10 at this point, or maybe right at $10. Definitely under 15 though, which it was for a little bit. Some of the ultra reprints then immediately crept back up to 20 or so. But I think we'll see it finally be a completely budget option for players. Generally, I would want decks to be under $300 for something that could make you top of YCS if you played correctly and you built the deck well. Accessibility being the only issue for you, physically getting cards, especially in less wealthy countries and regions, it's really good for players that are able to hopefully play better at their locals, make locals more competitive for those who want it to be. So good to see that there. Again, hopefully it'll be under 15 or so. And then Impermanence, this will probably be $5 to $10. We have super reprints from last year. I don't know. I don't think it had any other reprints this year besides.
Yeah, just the
this
Cyber Dark one.
Yeah,
so
that was
Ice
super.
Dragon's Prison will also finally budget. I know some Labyrinth players were wanting to mess with that, but it was also like very expensive. A lot of its printings were ridiculously expensive for some reason, even though it wasn't good for multiple formats.
Yeah.
So it might finally be a cheap option.
Yeah, it hasn't been good. I still don't think it's great to play in the current format. It's still really hard to use properly, especially for slower decks like Labyrinth. But it is good for those Labyrinth players because I think eventually that'll be a popular deck with more support. And then Dark Soul token and G Golem token. Dark Soul is for, I think it's for Possessed Dark Soul, which I don't know if it's even in here. I don't remember if it's in here at all.
I don't remember what the Dark Soul token is for.
Looks like this, which looks cool. Hey, I mean it's serviceable.
Oh, I remember now. It's for Necro. It's for the fusion, like.
Oh, okay, yeah. The zombie fusion, and then So of the regular ultra rares, this is G Golem token, which you guys will see it on screen right here. We actually don't have this theme in the TCG. This is technically the TCG's first G Golem card as a token. I don't know if that's happened before, or at the very least, it hasn't happened in at least like 8 or 9 years. This is really uncommon for this to happen, where we have kind of an unplayable card be the starting point for a new theme. This will be released. The G Golem theme will be released in Battles of Legend Crystal's Revenge later in December. We're also getting the Dark World structure deck in December, so that's going to be another big month. Goodness. But yeah, so G Golem. We'll finally get those. They're Cyber's Earth, and I think they were used by one of the anime characters in Vrains. Kind of cool, but interesting to see it that we finally have the G Golem token. People might have been expecting it in another OTS pack. There are a bunch of tokens that we don't have in the TCG, but eventually we'll get through OTS packs. I guess it's another way to segment them. But yeah, and then the last of the cards we know, because only one YouTube channel, MST.TV, pulled a Pharaoh's Ultra Rare. They look okay. I actually think maybe there was another one afterwards, but the one that I saw, I know, was MST.TV. The true name, I would say it's one of those anime manga cards that deserves to be a higher rarity. I just don't know how expensive they're going to be. If they are difficult to pull, which it seems like they are, they might demand a higher price. I don't think they're going to be like ghost rare prices.
Scapegoat or Lightning Storm were also.
I think they were. Yeah, someone posted them in like Zodiac Duelist. I think I may have seen Scapegoat, but I'm not positive on that. We'll release we'll link a full set spoiler once it's actually out, so you guys know. But overall, like I said, I think this is one of the best sets, best reprint sets ever printed. It's so nice. This allows a lot more players, like I said, from less wealthy nations to play the game because accessibility
the value is nice.
The issue. Yeah,
even it makes several decks a lot more budget, and you get a bunch of great reprints all around. So I agree.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an A+.
I remember writing an article a few months back about Eldorado being one of the best reprint sets, and Mavens basically just topples it like no contest.
Yeah, and I personally was a little disappointed with the Maximum Gold sets because they just don't have enough valuable reprints. So there were some valuable reprints in there. I just don't think there were enough. This kind of compensates in my mind. This just overcompensates rather, because this just has everything. It has a bunch of fantastic cards for the Duel Monsters era fans, has for competitive players who play current format right now, competitive players who are returning, collectors. It has everything. And the fact that's not even counting the sleeves. So you guys will see on screen right now, full screen, the sleeves. There are 6 variants with all of the Ishizu Mayakashi, Witchcrafter, and Striker. You guys will see that. They look fantastic. I don't like Striker at all as a theme, but again, the sleeves are really, really nice, and I will probably end up using them, or at least getting them. They look fantastic. The print quality looks great. The build quality, probably not so great, but that's why we have double sleeves now. I honestly don't know why they didn't market this more, because besides the Ishizu cards, they didn't really need to for competitive players, but they could have just gone all in on advertising for this, saying there are reprints everywhere, but maybe they didn't want to drive secondary market prices. I don't know, ruin other products, I'm not sure. But this really, I mean, the sleeves and the reprints together is very, it's highly valuable for $25 in the US. You know, things like the Mega Tins are $22 now. For $3 more, you get a guaranteed pack of sleeves. Even if they're not the design you want, there's still at least something, you know, a $4 pack of sleeves to compensate for that, the price increase from earlier this year, as well as the chance to get some valuable like Ishizu cards or Pharaoh Ultra Rares. It's a really good product, and let me say, the set design, the way the cards look, you guys will see on the screen in just a minute. The way the packaging looks, the booster packs, the actual box itself, it's small, but it does its job very well, and it looks fantastic. I love the background. I love the way they framed everything. Only thing would be the text. We're going to have a whole art series later on, showcasing stuff like that. I love the way it looks. This is an absolutely fantastic product. I made a video previously saying that basically every single product for the rest of 2022 after July of this year was going to be a smash hit. This definitely, I think this takes the cake as far as the side sets.
The only dud I think will possibly be a Crystal's Revenge, because like
I think so.
Mavens kind of already stole most of the good reprints we would probably see, and then like the new decks like the Advanced Crystal Beasts aren't all that great. So I don't think much can save Crystal's Revenge, like from maybe Baron. But
probably. No, but when I had originally made that video talking about the products, I don't even think Crystal's Revenge was released. They had revealed that Mavens was... They had just revealed Mavens, that it was going to be a thing. I don't think they revealed Crystal's Revenge.
Yeah, that's what I remember too.
If I remember correctly.
Mavens, but no like Crystal's Revenge at all.
But otherwise, everything after and including Power of the Elements has been fantastic. Again, the Dark World structure deck is going to be great. This is going to be great. Maybe not competitively, not the actual format is going to be great with, you know, one, maybe two decks lying around. But for those who want to collect and get hollow reprints of cards, build a deck as a returning competitive player, this is a really great product. I really hope that they lean into this a little more, add more sleeves to these kind of side products later. This really increases their value. It is more expensive to produce because of those sleeves, but if they're selling sleeves anyway for $4 or $5 here in the US anyway, like as a loose pack in Walmart or Target or whatever, you might as well put it in a product and just add that much more value. And it's easier to market having those two components rather than one or the other. So like tins, they only have the packs, which they're mega packs, so they're big. But imagine if they also had like sleeves, even if you never played them, even if they were, you know, garbage art from like Duel Monsters or GX or whatever, just having sleeves in there adds value in itself, because then you can sleeve potentially good cards for returning players who may not have sleeves offhand available, or they just want cheap sleeves they can use anytime. That would increase the value quite a bit. It's also good for stores that are, you know, buying a bunch of cases and offloading sealed product and singles. They can sleeve those cards using those sleeves. It lowers their cost a lot. Overall, I think this product should set a new precedent. Again, I don't know if it will, but it should set a new precedent for these kind of side reprint sets, including like Ghost and Legendary collections. I'm excited for this.
I don't think anything is going to topple Mavens for a very long time.
I could see, I don't think it's going to do. I think the sleeve and pack combination, even though it's only, you know, 20 cards, I think it's either 16 or 20 cards you get per box, plus the sleeves, I think that's fantastic value with increased prices for sealed products. I don't know if the reprints are going to be any good, but the design, the idea behind, we're going to put in two different things for the players, for collectors, for everyone. It targets everyone in just the right ways. Starting with Mavens, I hope they keep this design trend because that would make a lot more products a lot more valuable, I think. So maybe we'll have another discussion about this, about the impact of reprints and everything in the future. I don't know. Overall, I would say this set is like A+, even like an S tier product. If I had to put it on like a conventional grading scale, easily A+, as far as like a tier scale. Solid S, probably even S+, something like that.
So that's about it, guys. I'm Redrin from Yugioh Protect. So right now, I am still working on collecting the YCS Utrecht list. We're going to be finishing up. Right now, I have like 32 over 64, so make sure to check that out. And I'll be seeing you guys later.
Thank you, Eric with OzoneTCG. Thank you guys, as always, for watching.